Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. It's Friday, May 29th, and you've made it to the weekend. So another congratulations. You are here to listen to me read It Ain't So Awful Falafel by Firoozeh Dumas. The chapter we left off on is called Where the Red Fern Dies. When I come home from school, my dad is sitting on the sofa, still wearing his suit. He looks exhausted. There's a cardboard box on the floor next to him, containing the nameplate for his desk, his SeaWorld coffee mug with a picture of Shamu jumping through a hoop and a half-dead red fern. What happened? I asked, trying not to sound too alarmed. America and Iran are no longer doing business together, so the company fired me. Oh no. He's not even trying to hide his anguish. But they gave me this, he said sadly, holding up a book. How to write a resume. This can't be real. How can my father get fired? He is a great engineer. I don't know what to say. I go to my room and lie down on my pile of blankets. That night after dinner, my dad takes all the credit cards and spreads them across the kitchen table. He picks up the scissors and starts cutting the cards into small pieces. That's it, he says. No more trips to Fashion Island. No more going to restaurants or movies. The clothes we have, that's what we use. We're living off our savings now, and there isn't a lot. My mom starts to cry and runs up to her room. I know she won't be coming out for the rest of the night. Oh no. So does this mean that they're going back to Iran? Next chapter, click clack. Saturday morning, I wake up to the sound of click clacking. I go downstairs. My dad is at the kitchen table typing with his right hand. He's holding a book open with his left hand. What are you doing, Baba? I ask. In America, you have to write a resume to get a job, he explains. I look over his shoulder. He has typed his name, address, phone number at the top, then listed his degrees from the Abadan Institute of Technology. I run back upstairs and get my bottle of whiteout from my desk drawer. Here, I say, handing it to him. What's this? See those two mistakes? I point out to an extra O in his name and a missing S in our address. I unscrew the cap of the whiteout with its attached brush. You just take this little brush, cover the mistakes, wait for it to dry, then retape it. It's magic. Retype it. It's magic. Amazing, my dad exclaims. I'm so glad. I've been taking typing at school. What are you going to do with the resume, I ask. I'm sending one to every engineering company in the phone book. And here, look in the back of this paper. See if there are any job listings that mention engineering. He hands me the LA Times. I flip to the back, the classified section. I scan the want ads. Here's one, I say. Circle it. My dad hands me a pen. I find 3 more and circle them too. My father's resume is not very long. He has worked for 2 companies. The sample resume in the book shows people who have changed jobs many times. I wonder if that is better, but I don't say anything to my dad. I have to write a cover letter now, he says, removing the resume from the typewriter. He opens the book to the chapter, How to Write an Effective Cover Letter. He starts to type. Dear Sir or Madam, my name is Mohsen Yousafzai. I am a petroleum engineer with 31 years of experience with the National Iranian Oil Company and 5 years with AMP Gas. He paused. What else should I say? Zomorod. I look at the sample cover letters in the book for a few minutes. You should also mention something that you've done in those jobs. You need 2 more sentences. I've been involved in building 2 refineries in Iran. I was part of the team for the National Iranian Oil Company helping AMP Gas Company build a refinery in Tabriz. But I lost my job because of the recent and very unfortunate events between Iran and the United States. I do not agree with those events and hope they are resolved soon. I don't think you should mention the events between Iran and US, I suggest. Why not? He does not realize how unpopular Iran is these days because I don't see anything like it in the sample letters. Give me that white stuff, he says. When the whiteout finally dries, my dad adds another sentence. I can start working immediately. He removes the cover letter and reads it again, looking pleased. I am going to the pharmacy to make 10 copies. Zomorod, since you are a better typist, can you address the envelopes? So that's how I spent my Saturday morning, but I don't mind. So Zomorod's helping out her dad find a job. Next chapter. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Iranians are arriving in America in droves, especially the upper classes who are afraid of being killed by the new government. Some have enough money to buy homes and set up small business like dry cleaners, but a lot of people are escaping with only their lives. Many are given political asylum, which means that they're allowed to come to America because their lives are in danger. We hear stories about generals in the Shah's army who are now scrubbing toilets in Los Angeles. As we're eating dinner, Poya calls to say hello. The minute I hear my dad say his name, I go upstairs, pick up the phone on the table in the hallway. I cover the receiver so my father doesn't know that I'm listening. Poya says that his father took money out of Iran before the revolution, and his parents are now living in London. But his uncle, who owns a shoe factory, was murdered by the new regime, and all his belongings were taken away from his family. His house, his car, his wife's jewelry, everything disappeared. His wife, kids fled to Turkey. Wow. That's when you know it's bad, when people are fleeing the country. Whew. I am so sorry, my father says. I hope you two are okay. We're both studying business at UCLA, Poya says. It's hard being Iranian right now with the hostages, but we tell everyone we're Italian. Poya is now Genovian, and I'm Antonio. Oh, Giovanni, sorry. And I'm Antonio. Just study hard, my dad reminds them. And remember that in America, you can become the best version of yourself, only in America. Day 14. Every night we wait for the Iran crisis, America held hostage, to come on Channel 7, so we can hear the update on the hostages. The show always starts with a count of how many days it's been since the hostages were taken. We cannot believe that it has now been 2 weeks. Even though we're not responsible for this terrible event, it's happening in our country, so we feel a connection. We feel horrible. After social studies class on Monday, Mrs. Thompson pulls me aside. During the faculty meeting on Friday, Miss D'Angelo mentioned you are from Iran. Would you like to give a presentation about the current events there, she asked. It's hard for me to say no to a teacher, but I can't think of anything I would like to do less. I don't want everyone at school to associate me with the events in Iran. School is where I go to get a break from all that stuff. No, thank you, I say. May I ask why not? I don't want to admit that I'm embarrassed because of the hostage situation, so instead I say, I'm really busy right now. I see, but keep in mind that if at the end of the semester your grade is between an A and a B, a report like this could bump you up to an A. Can I do it after the hostages are released, I ask. Of course, she says. Next chapter. A note not from Hallmark. The next morning I open the front door to go to school, and there's something on the doormat. It looks like a stuffed animal. I bent down to pick it up, then jerk my hand away. It's not a toy, it's a dead hamster. There's a handwritten note next to it. Iranians go home. If the note hadn't been there, I might have thought a hamster had escaped his cage, crawled to our welcome mat and died there. But the note, somebody actually placed a dead hamster on our doorstep on purpose. I immediately shut the door so my mom and dad wouldn't see it. I definitely do not want my parents to know about this. They are already upset enough about everything else in the world going wrong. They worry every day about my aunts and uncles. Unlike Poya and Poyan's parents, my relatives were not clever enough to take money out of Iran before the revolution. I don't know if they're trying to leave the country, but I don't know that as more and more Iranians try to leave, the government tries even harder to prevent them. I have to get rid of the hamster fast. I know we're not supposed to touch dead animals because they carry diseases. I lean against the door and think, then take my brown lunch bag out of my backpack. I dump my sandwich and apple slices out of the Ziploc bags and into the brown bag. Then, using one Ziploc as a glove, I put the hamster in the other Ziploc. It feels limp and helpless, and I feel so sorry for it. I hope it didn't die a painful death. I go to the greenbelt trash can and dump it there, looking back over my shoulder to make sure my parents aren't watching. I rip up the note and throw it away too. I keep thinking, who would do such a thing? As soon as I get to school, I tell Carolyn the whole story. I also tell her about the overflowing trash can, which I haven't mentioned yet. Why didn't you tell me about the trash earlier? She asked, sounding insulted. I just thought it was an accident. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, and I didn't realize there would be other weird stuff happening. So this is the second time that somebody in their community has almost threatened Zomorod's family. Carolyn reacts exactly like I thought she would. We must find out who did this, she declares. I'm coming to your house after school. I can barely concentrate in class that day. Who would do such a thing? Does someone hate my parents? They hardly speak enough to make friends, let alone enemies. Carolyn distracts me by asking questions all the way home. Does your father owe anyone money? No. Do any of your relatives work for the government? No. Have your parents ever paid any bribes? No. And you're confusing my parents with people you've seen in movies. My parents have a glass of warm, non-fat milk before they go to bed at 9:30. Nobody would ever make an action movie about them. I have a method, Carolyn insists. Right when we turn the corner to my house, I start to panic. Carolyn has come over for dinner, but never right after school. My name may be Cindy and my English may be without an accent, but the contents of my kitchen are entirely Iranian. There are no snack foods at my house. Whenever I go to Carolyn's or Rachel's, there are so many snacks to choose from. I usually have ice cream. Any flavor is fine with me. This is what we have in our freezer. Ice. As we walk up the driveway, I warn her, you should know that the closest thing we have to a snack that you may recognize is apples and cucumbers. That's fine, she says, sounding surprised that I would even say that. And there is no peanut butter or cheddar cheese to go with it, I continue. We have an important job ahead of us, more important than snacks, she said firmly. Right, I say, and try to ignore my growling stomach. Okay, last chapter for today. V is for vendetta. Carolyn and I are sitting cross-legged on the blankets in my room where my bed once was. The door is closed. What do you remember about the note, she asks. I wish you kept it. It was just a plain white piece of paper. What was the writing like, Carolyn asks. I don't know how to describe it. Was it neat? Did it look like a kid's writing? Was it cursive? It was cursive and pretty neat. I recall it sounds like a female. We already know it's someone who knows where to live. Where you live, Carolyn says, crunching on a pickling cucumber. You're in the Girl Scout directory, so it could be someone in the troop. No way, I exclaim. Listen, Cindy, you can't eliminate anyone. It could be anybody, Carolyn insists. We go through the Girl Scouts directory page by page. Carolyn circles some names, underlines a few, and puts question marks next to others. I am not clear on her method, but I trust her. What about Cindy, your next door neighbor? That's what I was thinking. You know, Cindy, original Cindy and Zomorod are not on the best terms. Carolyn asks. Nope, I reply, but you don't hang out anymore. Maybe she has a vendetta against you. What's a vendetta? A grudge. Carolyn explains. It's when someone's mad at you and they want revenge. I know she doesn't like me, but why would she want revenge, I asked. Carolyn looks thoughtful but doesn't reply. Suddenly she says, I know who it is. Brock Vitter. He lives around the corner and he's a jerk. Remember how he threw tomatoes at us during lunch? Plus, he teased you about camels and it has to be him. But I thought you said it's a female, I remind her. He probably had someone else write the note. Criminals often work in pairs. Think of bank robbers. One person goes in the bank and the other drives the getaway car, she explains. You're right, it's Brock, I say. I suddenly feel let down. Would Brock really do something so horrible? I know he threw tomatoes at us, but part of me had hoped maybe there was a sweet person hidden underneath these overgrown bangs. And what do we do about it, I ask. I think that they both need more proof who actually did it before they do something about it. But how horrible. Thanks for watching. We're done for the day. I hope you enjoy the weekend. I heard we're getting some thunderstorms, so I think we're going to be staying indoors this weekend. I will see you all next week. Thank you again. Toodles, everyone.